Welcome back, listeners, to another exciting episode of our podcast. I'm your co-host, Kirsten McWilliams, Marketing Manager at Assets.
And I'm your other co-host, Jamie Arroyo, Asset CEO. Today, we have a real treat for you. In this episode, we sit down with the incredibly talented Keisha Finnie, a local artist and entrepreneur making waves in our community. From her captivating artwork to her innovative business ventures, Keisha's story is one of determination, creativity, and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and join us as we delve into the world of art and entrepreneurship with Keisha Finnie. I'm curious, Keisha, in your opinion, what's the state of the artist community in Lancaster City?
The state of the artist community in Lancaster has definitely grown since when I first started my whole journey. I'm definitely well connected, as you guys know now, so I can reach out to people and find opportunities very easily. So that's why I try to give back so much when I do.
Nice.
Yeah. And speaking of when you started, what is your origin story? As JB put it, what did you say?
Your superhero origin story.
So, that's a term I'm going to have to try to get used to. But my superhero story kind of started, I would say in kindergarten, my first art class, which is where one of my murals is now, my Nurture Your Mind mural that I did for the COVID murals back in 2020. But yeah, since my first art class, I've always been connected to art and really into that. So I've always taken classes throughout grade school. And even when I was a senior at McCaskey, I was able to take a class at PCAD for free. So
Very cool.
Nice. What did anyone around you support you in that confidence or developing that confidence?
Yeah.
You know, that's a very young age to dive into art.
So going back to my first art class, Mr. Lawrence, who was my first art teacher, ended up being my teacher again in McCaskey. So it was really awesome to be able to see him again. And then now we're also doing shows together. So I get to do pop-up events. And I was chilling under his tent at the Big Bloom Festival that they had last month. So it's really cool to see and be in that environment as the people who kind of raised me. In the art community.
That's awesome. Building that type of confidence is important, especially, at that age. And I was doing coloring books and didn't even do that well. So being able to, spark those creative juices and having that support for mentorship is super important. So that's cool that you've been able to grow with Mr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
Yeah. Came full circle for you.
Yeah. It's a big thing that I like to say in my journey when I tell people about it all the time, just because it's made a really big impact on me as an artist and as a student of his, and now people are looking at me as the same way. So it's really surreal sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess superhero.
Yeah.
As you would say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like Mr. Lawrence for you was a mentor. Have you stepped into the mentor role at all? And are you mentoring other up and coming aspiring artists in the community? Or is that something you want to move into?
I feel like I inspire those around me naturally, and giving back, like when I do workshops with the Girls Empowerment Workshop that I actually have coming up with the YWCA this week, things like that. I'm trying to get back into schools, and then doing like local community work. That's my way of giving back right now. So,
gotcha. Very cool. Yeah.
Nice. So, as you started to develop your, creativity and started to go into this space and really define yourself as an artist, what are some of the challenges that have been defining moments for you throughout your career?
Ooh, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Just starting from the beginning, I would say working to get my name out there and staying consistent. Everyone who I meet now thinks that this all just happened like overnight for me. But I was really working, and I was an artist my whole life. So it's like nurturing that skill and that drive and that passion for so long, and seeing other people being able to do that on Instagram. That was a big thing for me when I first started. And I was getting a lot of support from not only people that knew me locally, but people that didn't even know who I was and like where I made my first sales. So things like that kind of kept me pushing and kept me going. But I always had a part-time job until 2021 was when I was able to go full-time as an artist. So it's definitely staying consistent and working when you don't want to work. Like when you get off of work, you got to come home and work for yourself. And I always try to make that like statement to people when they're trying to come up.
Yeah, one of the things, or the thing that we do at Assets, is help entrepreneurs start, grow businesses, and really determine when is the right point to take that leap.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean you didn't just like say one day, you know, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna just go into this
No,
full
no,
time?
no, no,
Yeah.
no. Like, and it's still so scary to me now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely had a thought out plan. It wasn't until the killing of George Floyd, when I did that mural, that was when my career kind of blew up, like overnight, as people would say. But I was still doing work all the way up until that point. So it was great that I had that to kind of back me up. And this wasn't just the first thing that people have known me for, because right the week before that was when I did the COVID mural. So people were still like ravishing over that piece. And then this happened as well. So it was just kind of everything all at once. And then I had to step back from my job, and I was like, I had so many things planned out up until like the end of the year to make sure that I was going to be okay.
So you mentioned the George Floyd mural that you did. So that was a very defining point for a lot of our lives, as well as the community, or in the community. Can you take us back to the summer of 2020 and, you know, painting that mural and how that affected you personally and professionally?
Yeah, personally, it was something that I didn't think that I had the capability of doing. Me being an artist, I'm just so introverted and quiet and to myself, and being in charge of something that big and with that big of a message for not only the community but the world at the time, it was something that I was so scared of doing. And then I had interviews the whole day. We were working on the mural when they were protesting right behind us. So it was very strong and powerful doing that mural. And then we were working on till, I want to say, sundown. But yeah, it was the most powerful moment that I will never forget, like, in my life.
Yeah, and when you say the we, who's the we or team that is supporting you and helping you with these different projects? Like, I saw the mural that's on Rachel's Creperies building, and every time I drive past, I'm like, that's such a beautiful piece. And of course, that, you know, you can't do it as one person, but I'm sure it takes a team. And so what is that like, rallying a group of people in the community and creating this beautiful piece that you all can enjoy and appreciate?
Yeah, learning as an artist, and me being so independent and doing everything myself up until like a few years ago, I've tried to work smarter and not harder. So I'm trying to work in a team as much as I can and put all of my friends on when I can, you know?
Yeah.
So that the George Floyd mural, it was myself, Adam Serrano, Kirsten Jordan, and Kaya Hobbs, who all worked on that mural that day. And then the week after that, we came back and did the ampersand that is in the Peacock Park as well. And that had photographs that all the local photographers were taking the last few weeks, and then as well as the protesters. So it was great to see the community and be able to see themselves on art as well.
Yeah.
But the Rachel's Creperie mural, that was with another local artist, Maria, who also did one of the COVID murals. And then Shauna Yorty, who I met, I want to say 2021. She was doing a community mural in Garden of the Light, down by In the Light Ministries. And I just popped up because I was just starting on doing murals. So I was like, I'm going to go help out. I feel like I could learn a lot. And I ended up staying till it was dark and helping her finish the mural. And then she called me next year and said, I want you to be on my team because you worked so hard that night. So it's just things like that, and showing up for yourself, and always being a student.
Yeah.
Even though people may see me as a teacher, I feel like I'm still always learning as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I'm curious about your shift into entrepreneurship a little bit more. So, you know, you mentioned a team, you mentioned about, you know, still working and then slowly inching into that. What made you have that mindset shift to, I can't just think like an artist, I actually have to think like an entrepreneur to make this financially sustainable?
It's still a job, and I'm still trying to work on that without losing like the heart and soul of my work too, and not like doing things just for the money, you know? But I first started out, I also do henna tattoos. So I reached out to SCORE because I needed help finding out how to get my EIN number, because at that time I was a sole proprietor. So I needed that to be in this show. So I got a SCORE mentor, and they helped me through like the beginning of my year. There were some gaps in the information just because they haven't worked with an artist like me, or I've done anything in that like capacity, I feel. But they were very helpful, and I felt like I could ask them any questions without feeling stupid or anything like that. But also working with Evita Colon and being in Speak to My Soul, she's always someone that I can reach out to for any kind of information, and her being a creative as well. She knows different outlets that I can take help and take advantage of.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what advice would you give other artists anywhere in the community? What are best ways to seek out and find other people in the artist community, in the creative world, to find mentors and people that you could learn from or even teach? Like, how did you do that,
I felt like I knew people from school, but just putting yourself out there. Like, there were times when I emailed like every gallery on Gallery Row when I first started. I mean, I didn't get a reply, which led me to do my BIPOC show this past spring. But yeah, just finding opportunities and being observant and seeing what others are doing around you that are doing the same thing that you want to do. I've really prided myself on looking things up, or looking up YouTube videos, or figuring out something, or asking Facebook if I don't know how to do something, because it's for my business and it's something I love, and I don't care if it makes me look stupid, even though like no question is dumb to me. So I feel like being able to be teachable and not being scared to ask certain questions and afraid of what people are going to think of you, because they're not doing it and they should be asking. I mean, I'm self-taught, so I'm going to try to pick information wherever I can get it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Goes back to like always being a student, right? So just always being curious and just leaning into that. I think there's this perception that once you make it as an entrepreneur, whatever that means, I was like, yo, you know all the information, but it's like actually
I'm still learning so much.
Yeah, you start finding out like actually I don't know as much as I thought I did, and you start craving that information.
Yeah,
so it's good.
Yeah, it's like being in a classroom when you're like, does anyone else have the same question I do? Sometimes you gotta be that brave soul, be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing.
And I wasn't always like that in school. I wasn't. In art, I had my teacher who I was comfortable with, who I could ask things like that, or it would help me like do a portfolio when I needed to get into PCAT and things like that. But now I don't have any kinds of feelings about asking questions like that, because we all started somewhere.
Definitely.
And it's really how you use your skill and put practice into that. So
yeah, all wise words right there.
Yeah.
So what does innovation look like in the artist community or in the creative space? Are there new things that you're looking to be more innovative, or do new things, test new ideas?
I feel like I'm always trying to do new things. I feel like as artists, we get bored easily and we're always trying to do something different. Like when I do my paintings on canvas, I'm always trying to do something different with each piece and trying to push myself or use a new technique or style that I'm liking at that point. And then with murals, I'm still learning a lot about them. So working in a team and working with others who can help me in the skills that I'm lacking is something that I always search for too. So that's my kind of innovation. And the business side of that, I'm still learning all of that, but trying to utilize my resources and learning the grant world, and that's a whole new world for me. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, but knowing that you have these resources here in the community, whether it's assets, whether it's SCORE, or other business resource providers, just knowing that we're here is also important, because some people are like, I have to do this all on my own, but not realizing what's here in the community. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think in the beginning of the pandemic, I did receive a grant from Assets too, and that was when I was first starting. So I'm sure I wasn't even as well versed as I am now in filling stuff out. So I'm just really thankful that you guys are looking at people in the community and giving those opportunities who may have not gotten them before, because I think that might have been my first grant that I ever got, possibly.
Oh, well, that's good to hear.
That is good to hear. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's why business resource providers like Assets, that's why we're here, to help people figure out their entrepreneurial journey. So
this episode is built by Cargus Systems. Cargus is an employee-owned software company offering business software implementation, support, and customization since 1988. Driven by its purpose of shared success, Cargis gives back to the Lancaster community through STEM initiatives, art programs, event sponsorships, and more. Visit Cargis.com to see what makes Cargis a reliable software partner and one of PA's best places to work. One of the things we're trying to focus on at Assets is this idea around being more human-centered. So really focusing on the person behind the business and learning more about what are the needs of the entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges you're facing as a person, because no matter what business you start multiple times over, you're the one that's going to be driving it. And we want to make sure that the entrepreneur behind the business is successful. What would you say are some things that entrepreneurs really need in Lancaster to become successful?
Organization, consistency is definitely two big ones for me, and that I pride myself on being. I mean, I was already an organized person, so that kind of worked to my advantage. But knowing who you are and who your audience is a big thing as well. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that.
Well, they're two big ones.
Yeah.
I think we think sometimes entrepreneurs are just swinging home runs all the time, and it's really just the singles.
Oh yeah, no. I try to show like when things don't work out for me. I mean, it's not always the easiest, and I kind of want to keep certain things to myself as well too. But yeah, there's many times where I've gotten no's and just kind of moved on to the next thing. And you always have to keep going working for yourself, because you don't have time to sit there and kind of be sad about it, maybe for a little bit, but you got to think in long term, like what's your goal and what are you trying to do, and all of those things you need to get there.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm curious, out of all the milestones and achievements you already mentioned, are there any other ones that we haven't discussed yet that you're like, wow, I did that, I did my thing with that?
Like I said, when I first left my job in 2021, I actually became a scenic artist at Tate for a few months. And I can say it now, but I was actually able to paint the buildings for the Weekends tour.
Wow,
Nice.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the tour that is like global now, and it's in the UK. So I got to be one of the painters, and it was the first time I ever did anything like that. So it was really big for me. I didn't get to meet the Weekend, but we got to go to the show. So it was really cool
That's a plus.
to see your work and see millions of people like over and over again. And yeah, that's probably a big one for me.
Yeah, that's huge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really huge. Yeah. How'd you find that opportunity or come across that opportunity?
So my best friend's mom worked there at the time, and she kind of got my foot in the door.
Gotcha.
So I'm so thankful for that. And but there's actually a lot of artists who work there that I didn't know. A lot of people knew who I was, and I was wearing like a band shirt, and they're like, "Hey, I know that band." So it's there's a lot of artistic people and creative people that work at Tate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to just knowing the right people, and that can lead to a door opening to a really cool opportunity.
For sure. It's like, even as my best friend, she's not a painter or anything like that, but knowing her and knowing her mom, and some people don't even know about Tate. So it's a very big creative hub that we have local. They do a lot of great things.
So you mentioned opportunity. So I can imagine there's times there where you have the opposite problem. So too many opportunities at one time. So how do you kind of filter through, and how do you say, if you can have the courage to say no to potentially some good opportunities?
So talking commissions, I've been able to pick and choose what kind of work that I want to do, and if it aligns, and if it's going to make me happy working on it at the end of the day. Because a lot of the times when you're starting out, you just take work because you need it, and you're trying to get your name out there. Necessarily, you don't like the subject that you have to do. So things like that, I'm thankful to be able to pick and choose what I want to do. But bigger opportunities, it's hard to pick and choose, but I try to think about myself and not burn myself out, and make sure that I'm able to get it done in a certain amount of time. So I'm still gauging that. It's hard to gauge your time as an artist when you're doing so many new things. But yeah, definitely self-care is probably at the top of my list, so I don't make myself crazy.
Yeah. And before you said self-care, I was going to ask, so how do you help or prevent running into burnout? And I was going to ask, what does your self-care look like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have run into it a few times, but like it's kind of inevitable. I mean, I do so many things and I try to please a lot of people. I'm getting better at setting boundaries and doing all of those things personally, so it can transfer over into my business as well.
Yeah.
But I really love hiking, being out in nature, going to art exhibits when I have time, taking day trips to see other museums, and vacationing and shopping local. All those things refill my soul.
Yeah. Fill up your cup again.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because a lot of the perception around entrepreneurship is that you just go, and it's always grit. Where there are seasons for that, self-care is super important. And one of the conversations we're having at Assets too is how do we help entrepreneurs understand the importance of mental health, and really making sure that we're taking care of ourselves through this journey, and that there are seasons of filling your cup.
Right.
So I'm glad to hear that you're taking serious the art of self-care.
Yeah, it's not always easy. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm doing these self-care things and I'm thinking like, oh my God, I got all this stuff to do at home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always in the back of your mind, but like you just have to try to enjoy the moment. And I try to put my phone down and as much as I can, or like I usually post things, engage a little bit and get off so I can stay in the moment and be present.
Yeah. Unplug. Yeah. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned going to like art galleries and museums. Is that a way for you to find inspiration or get inspired? And what are other ways that you find inspiration to create your art?
Yeah. Definitely being inspired by other artists' work is a big one for me. Being in school, I didn't learn about a lot of Black artists and artists that I know now. So I'm able to give myself those experiences and go and see the work in person. And it's just, you have to see art in person for me. And I'm one that likes to look up something like this close. So I get yelled at sometimes, like, you're too close. But I want to see the paint strokes and stuff on the work. So that's the whole reason I'm here. But definitely taking art inspiration from others' work, and in nature, a lot of my work has nature in that as well. So being connected to those things really give me inspiration in my own work.
Very cool. Yeah, who are some artists, whether locally or nationally or globally, that really inspire you and you're like, oh my gosh, these are my favorite artists, these are the people I love to look at their art?
So the first big, like, I want to say exhibit of somebody famous who I wanted to see was Frida Kahlo, and I got to take a bus trip to go see that in Brooklyn. And it was amazing, and like I never thought I was going to be able to see her work in person. So that really moved me, as well as seeing Basquiat, Andy Warhol. I just recently went to Baltimore Museum of Art to see the Culture exhibit. So they had a lot of Black art in there. They had Jordan Castile, who's a well-known Black artist. They also had a lot of people. Even work from Kendrick Lamar, and musically, they had so many things in that exhibit.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I feel like they all of the musically, visually, all of the art of that intertwines for me. So I feel like I get inspiration from all of those things.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, is there a certain artist or genre of music that you listen to, that you jam out while you're in your zone, while you're doing your paint brushes and strokes and things like that?
I feel like I need to listen to music more when I'm painting. I do sometimes, but like when I was just working on my solo show this past March, I was working on it all winter, but I was really very hard watching Survivor. That's one of my favorite shows. I love nature, so like I watched that as a kid with my parents. So like I watched every season when I was working on all of those 5. Yes, there's like 40 something seasons. I even applied. So if you guys see me on Survivor,
okay,
get out of here.
But yeah, I love watching Survivor. I watch like rewatching art shows like Face Off. They don't have too many. But music artists I like to listen to, obviously Kendrick Lamar. Childish Gambino is one of my favorites. I like old school hip hop and R&B. That's one of my go-to vibes.
Gotcha.
Some good choices.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah, I love the idea of your favorite local artists like binge watching Survivor while they like put together your piece. That's cool.
Yeah, I would have never thought that.
Like, they must have been so inspired.
It's just something that you can put on the background, and I know what's going to happen, so I don't really got to pay attention. I can still do work, you know, because if it's something that's too like too good, it'll distract me from
That's
getting
true.
stuff done.
Yeah, no serious podcasts or anything like that. It's
I
just
do
like,
listen
need
to some
zone out.
podcasts, a few podcasts, like a few local
Mhm.
podcasts that I've been on as well. I like listening to others that I know that have been on those as well.
Yeah.
So when you guys get more, I'm excited to hear them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do listen. I try to listen to audiobooks sometimes too when they're available, like to rent from the library. There's like an app that you can download. So
Yeah.
stuff like that. Is cool
Shout out to the Lancaster Public Library,
Yeah,
new
right?
location. So,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you had to kind of step back and talk to your younger self, much younger self, what is some advice that you would give to a young Keisha?
I feel like I'm still feeling my soul as a child, but that I'm enough. Everything's okay. You're an amazing artist. People love you. Keep working hard.
Yeah.
All of those affirmations, I feel like that I say now is something that I needed as a child and that I didn't get as often as I do now. So it's a process accepting all of the love that I'm getting, but I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That
I think
is
all
awesome.
those affirmations, if you could tell young Jamie that'd be great.
Yeah.
Good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's your vision and idea of what your future of your career in artistry looks like? Like if you could look into the future 5, 10 years down the line, what would you love to see yourself doing?
Obviously still making art, but I want to be able to have my work travel and be in different cities. So that's something that I'm working towards now and getting into different galleries, possibly residencies, working with bigger brands and partnering, things like that. Yeah. So
awesome.
All the things, but just at a bigger capacity than what I'm doing now.
Bigger team.
Yes.
Bigger art.
I need a team. That's definitely in the future. So then I want to do all of the business side of stuff. That would definitely give me a lot of relief and be able to focus on my art too.
Yeah.
And how can people follow you?
You can follow me at Keisha Finnie, KeishaFinnie on all. It's the same on all, so it's not too hard.
On all platforms.
I tried to catch that before anybody else did, and I was like, I don't want to have an artist name. I want to be known as myself, so I'm going to put it on everything.
What a great conversation with Keisha Finnie. We hope you join us again for the next episode. We'll be interviewing Amit Corso, owner of Cutting Edge Barbershop and Cutting Edge Barbershop Academy. He drops some amazing gems of wisdom and business tips.
And don't forget, you're invited to join Asset's 30-year celebration, Assets at 30, on September 12, 2023 at Southern Market. The program will run from 6 to 8:30 p.m. and doors will open at 5:30 p.m. It'll be a convening of innovators, entrepreneurs, community leaders who are passionate about the small business and ethical entrepreneurship here in Lancaster. We hope to see you there. You won't want to miss out.
This is the Built by Us podcast, brought to you by Assets. Visit us at assetspa.org to learn more about the products and services we provide. And you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube.